Hi, my name is Rich. I use the he, him pronouns. You're watching my YouTube channel where I play amazing tabletop role playing games with friends. This is part of the Star Wars Saturdays series. It's an anthology campaign that I've been running for a few years now for the Gauntlet, which is a community of indie, small press, and OSR RPG fans. And every month I choose a different RPG, or like here in May of 2021, I'll choose a couple different RPGs and reskin it if it needs it and set it in Star Wars. And we get together. Folks will RSVP, so often have a number of different players, which is great. New blood, always fun. Old blood, also good. We get together, create characters, and tell a story. This is a series of a game from Vincent Baker that he has currently listed as in development but playable. His working title is Before the Rebellion, but you'll notice from the YouTube title that I'm calling it Sorry End of Space, because he said I'm also thinking maybe of calling it Sorry End of Space, and I like that name a lot. So this is me pleading for the name Sorry End of Space, because Before the Rebellion means it has to be set at a certain time. Sorry End of Space could have whatever, right? So that's good. Flexibility. Sorry End of Space is a evolution of the core system found in a game Vincent released a long time ago called Dogs in the Vineyard. It's an evolution. There are a number of revisions and some tweaks. So if you're expecting a clone of Dogs in the Vineyard, you won't find it here. But if you're hoping for some more Dogs in the Vineyard content, this is the best you're going to get. We are setting this timeline-wise after Palpatine has died, sometime around the Mandalorian TV show. So while the New Republic is on the rise and the Empire is falling, we're setting this on a planet called Phindar, Phindar, which has very little information about it on Wikipedia, which is exactly what we want. We're playing it as if it is a mostly scrublands world. And it is in the middle of what's called Zinj's Empire, because in the expanded universe, I'm not going to go deep, trust me, I get bored on it too. But I like the idea of an imperial remnant, of the fact that the Empire didn't just roll over because Palpatine died. There were a number of folks who wanted to maintain their iron grip on the freedoms of the galaxy. And Zinj's Empire is all around Phindar. Phindar is kind of a forgotten planet. It is in Mandalore space, which is the Mandalorian, right? That's the space that Mandalore used to rule, but per the Mandalorian series, we're rolling with that as part of our canon as well. The Mandalorians are on the run and have been pretty roundly defeated, and I think that's important to note because of a character introduction that's coming up soon. We have a number of safety tools, lines, and veils. Lines are things that we are not interested in having in our fiction, so we won't. And if anyone accidentally introduces that, we'll gently remind them, because we're all playing in the best of faith here. I trust you guys. So that's a thing. And then a veil means this content, we're okay if it exists. We don't want to shine a light on it. So we may do a Lucas style star wipe away or fade to black situationally. And then the last bit is the ask first, which means this could be okay, but it kind of depends. So if you're thinking of introducing a particular piece of content and you see that it is in the ask first, such as bullying, suicide, and I put this in here, midichlorians, check with the table before it's actually introduced in the fiction. Hey, I'm thinking that a bullying scene here might be interesting to explore. And if everybody's cool with it, then we roll forward. If anyone says, can you try it a different way? Then we don't. We try a different way. And then on top of that, we have the X card, which is very helpful, but kind of brutal tool for safety. If it makes anything makes you feel uncomfortable that you didn't think, oh, well, I didn't realize we'd be talking about this today in our Star Wars, or for whatever reason. It could even be a name. I've seen people who are like, hey, I just, I've got a cousin who's named that, or, that's my uncle's name. Anything like that. I'm going to X card that, means that we will. No problems. You don't have to defend yourself. You don't even have to explain that's my cousin's name. You could just say, hey, I need to X card that thing. And I may ask a question of, is it the name? Is it this subject matter? Whatever, just to check in. I was public school educated, so sometimes I don't fully understand. So that's it. Just checking in. I know Keith's defensive, but I was public school. Both my parents are teachers, so I can make those jokes. It's written into our contract. Then we excise it from our play and move on. No harm, no foul. I've never seen the use of an X card that didn't make the game better, because we have 4 beautiful brains here, and anything that gets X carded, we'll just come up with some other way to roll with it. The last thing I'll say about X card before we introduce characters and players is that if something is introduced and at first you're like you have that erection of like, not sure, but you decide to roll with it, and that's totally up to you. You decide to roll with it, and then it goes for a minute or two longer, and you're like, okay, this is exactly where I was afraid this might go. This is not cool with me. You can still X card it. You have not obviated the ability to use the X card just because it was introduced. No one's going to say, but wait, this happened 10 minutes ago, or this happened last session. The X card was played. That's all that needs to happen. And then we'll work around it. It's no problem. And if anyone gets salty about it, I will have words with them, because this tool is there for your safety. And I know you wouldn't pull the X card unless you need to. So there you go. That's a long, long explanation of the X card, and I apologize. I'm going to now use the character keeper to go from right to left. And if you could introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about your character, that would be great. So I'm going to start from the right-hand side, which means that Keith, you get to go first. Please introduce yourself and tell us about your PC.
I'm a gamer, designer, and educator outside of Philadelphia. All of my stuff is available on humanhandandbrain.com. If I have updated it, which, okay, well, maybe not. And in this game, I am playing TX-21, a former Imperial droid who, after some less than savory exploits subjugating Mandalore, was captured, bought, sold, and repurposed as a labor droid thanks to the help of a restraining bolt, and has only some time ago gotten that bolt off and is now walking around looking like public enemy number 1, but just wants to make their way in the universe, be left alone, and try to atone for some of those sins as best as they can. Still big, still strong, promises not there to kill anyone. And that is as solemn a vow as a droid can make. So, of course, the tension that we'll be seeing is, will TX be able to keep that up or not?
So I did have a question from that introduction. I'll probably have more later, but the first one that comes up is, you said that TX was repurposed, had a restraining bolt. For lack of a better term, what happened to the person who purchased you and put a restraining bolt on you? Are they still alive, or are they dead?
I'm trying to think of what the experience now with a droid with a restraining bolt would be. Like, you're still fully aware, but you don't have your full range of free will. So it's not like I wouldn't necessarily know. I didn't kill them, but you know what? No, I don't want them to be dead, because that's an interesting toy to give you to play with. So I'm going to say they were rounded up by the rebellion, because it was clearly a bad influence kind of person, and taken away. And I don't want to put this on the table without asking, because it could be a veil or a line thing. I'm really interested in how droids are treated in Star Wars. Like, sometimes they're considered persons, and other times they're just tools. And I'm kind of picturing that when the rebellion came, they're like, well, we'll take the restraining bolt off this thing, and then good luck. where you wouldn't do that to a biological entity. But even the rebellion didn't value TX that highly. So there he was on his own, and good luck.
So you checking in with the table, David, Bethany? Anyone have any? Because we do have a veil on slavery. Is everyone cool with what Keith proposed for TX? Just the rebellion came, arrested guy, pulled out their string
totally
bolt.
See somebody doing that. Like I don't know what to do with this droid, but
yeah, that sounds good to me. That sounds good to me.
I see a few rebel soldiers like arguing, like, no, this is good. It's like, oh man, I've fought one too many of those things. No way. And then they just take off. We go, hey, ride them up. They just leave you there, messed up. I love it. Cool. Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate that. Next up, Bethany. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your character.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Bethany. I use they them pronouns, and I'm playing Vesh Helion, who also uses they them pronouns, I think, and or maybe just any pronouns. I don't know. They are a two-time refugee at this point. They're the Misfit playbook, not the Exile playbook, weirdly enough. But yeah, they are from a planet that was more or less destroyed. I think the planet still exists, but the ecosystem that was on it is not there anymore. Of basically giant trees that grew into each other to the point where their civilization was built on these trees. Kind of like, well, kind of in the same idea as Ewoks, but bigger communities. And they have some seeds and some saplings, and they would like to restart a grove of these trees on this other planet. The fact that these trees get most of their nutrition from human or sentient memories is definitely not going to pose a problem at all for anyone.
I disagree, but I love it. Fantastic. And last but certainly not least, we have David. If you could introduce yourself, tell us about your character.
Hi, yeah, I'm David. I use he, him pronouns, and I am playing the exiled Jedi Kit Shadestar, who also uses he, him pronouns. Kit was a Jedi, a Jedi Knight back before the Clone Wars and all that stuff broke out. Though even back then, he essentially had already left the Jedi Order sort of as the Clone Wars were starting, mostly in fact due to his disagreements with the direction that the Jedi Council were taking. He was essentially a kind of removed himself from the Order as a form of protest. Was thus spared the destruction of the Jedi Order, but has spent the remaining time, unsurprisingly, keeping a relatively low profile, at least on the Jedi side of things. He has spent the decades since basically mostly traveling around the fringes of the galaxy. It's sort of acting often with unscrupulous types, as a sort of general all-round mediator, card sharp, grifter from time to time, generally trying to get by in as still has a sense of the kind of the ethics of the Jedi Order, though a bit more flexible on the overall morality of things these days. Has probably relatively recently ended up on Findar, probably trying to avoid trouble elsewhere. And yeah, so yeah, Kit is obviously, by this point in things, is an older man, though quite well preserved for it. Kind of has the silver fox thing going on. Has a little neatly trimmed mustache. Wears kind of a big long well-tailored duster that's sort of reminiscent of Jedi robes without actually going there. And sort of, I'm imagining that sort of Western card sharp look with the sort of fancy waistcoat and one of those little sort of bow ties, but like with the ribbon under it. He does carry his lightsaber still, though very, very rarely actually uses it because both he overall wishes to avoid bringing harm to people, and also it's a big red flag, or blue flag in his case. But
that's wonderful. So we decided that Findar is the planet where we will be located. And then before we started recording, I threw out the possibility of this being the setting, the more town or community is a very small spaceport. It's kind of spaceport that would not be receiving significant flights of any commercial or freighter because it's all up around. I'm kind of imagining it like in the middle of Route 66, there might be a small airport that also has convenience store, restaurant, bar, kind of everything is interconnected around the idea of the airport. But yeah, it's definitely, as we determined, a few times a week is when flights will come in. A space truck stop is 100%. Thank you, Bethany. That is exactly where my head is on that. A space truck stop is so that yes, I am influenced a little bit by the recent, as currently on as of this recording, still on Kickstarter, Orbital Blues. That is the thing that kind of gave me the idea of space truck stop being a cool thing. So this is the wild thing. Well, there are many wild things about Sorry Into Space, but this is the one that we're to now. It's called the setup. Player characters you're thrown in together. Describe in turn what you bring to the group. I think we kind of have. Yeah. Describe what you bring to the group, TX21.
Brute strength and good intentions.
Well, I mean, you also have.
Oh yeah. 2d10 now 1d10 in repairing things, the tinker's hands that he has. I'm picturing that's because after being liberated by the rebellion, there wasn't anyone to actually take care of TX, so that's a skill that they learned on their own at that point.
And we're using they, them. Ramshackle Workshop, also a thing you bring to. So yeah, you can repair almost anything.
You can use any pronouns for TX.
Okay.
I'm picturing TX as sort of like, I don't understand them. I don't know why biologicals use them. Whatever you want to call me is fine.
Into it. Sounds good. Vesh Hellion, what do you bring to the group?
That is an excellent question. I am a reasonably good and agile fighter. I have a derelict cargo ship that will fly, but is not at all space worthy. But you can use it to move around on this planet. Maybe most of the time.
I love it.
TX might have to do something to it first.
Sounds good. And then Kit, what do you bring to the group?
Yeah, so sort of covered some of this already, but yeah, Kit is a people person. He's quite adept at dealing with people, calming down hostile situations, getting out of trouble at least temporarily. That sort of thing is sort of I guess where the main thing he brings to the table. Also, Jedi, but again, plays that a bit more on the down low. So
#Secret Jedi. Sweet. Situation. To start the first session, the players choose a situation from the list. A tab on the character keeper. I've copied over the situations from the PDF for before the rebellion. Get together, choose one that sounds fun. Choose who will read it out to the GM. It's probably obvious which character is the best fit. The other characters is your job as players to commit to seeing the situation through. If you need to invent a motivation for your character, do, and feel free to ask the GM and other players for suggestions. You can use your commitment to the other PCs as motivation, if nothing else. I don't need to deal with this personally, but I've got your back. So if you're in it, I'm in it. And my job is to flesh out the situation. So there are six situation groups and 6 situations under each group. So if you are stuck, roll 2d6 and there you go. But if there are some really, really compelling ones in there.
They're not grouped by type or anything as far as
I don't think
situations.
so.
1 to 2.
I don't think so. It's a lot. So there may be some silence, and that's okay.
I've been just rolling dice trying to give me some sort of oracular help, and I've only found 2 that
As you go through, if folks see ones that are like, oh my gosh, that looks neat, do the flood fill and highlight it, and everybody else can check it out as well. What ones were you interested in there, Keith?
5-4 seemed kind of interesting, but I didn't know if it would step on Vash Hellion, the backstory there, because it's talking about a flow of refugees, but it might also be like cool to see the twice refugee trying to navigate those waters. And I ran across a shed one. I don't know how many there are, but the very last one, we've ambushed and seized an Imperial light assault walker. I don't know how. It's locked in my shed right now, and we're trying to decide the right thing to do with it. It's a big shed, man.
Yeah, I love that half of them seem to have something locked in your shed. It's
I think that's a euphemism for something.
Good, yeah.
I feel like, did we have a locked in the shed one to start the other game?
Yes. There was a refugee who was like on the run and locked in the shed. Yep.
Oh yeah, it was 2-3. I remember
the couple I've just been kind of reading through in order because that's how my brain works. But the ones that I thought would make some sense to link into my character specifically was kind of the criterion I was looking on. Was 1-5, which is I worked with someone in the past successful job, and now they've come to me again. They're planning to rob the Imperials, to paraphrase. And 2-3, which is the relative of a past colleague, has come to me on the run from the Imperials with the data store of stolen passcodes. They are also hiding in the shed.
That was the very one that we used. It is a good one. It's really good.
I think for TX, anything that is posing a threat to the community will be an easy buy-in.
Mhm.
So, and some of them seem to be more external, like, hey, there's somebody out there we have to find, which it would be harder for, at this point, at least for me to think of why he'd be willing to go and do whatever that is, when it's sort of like, I just want to protect this plot of land and keep everyone as safe as I can.
For 1-5, I would suggest like tweaking it. Instead of it being a nearby system, it could be somewhere on planet. That way Vesh's ship might make sense. Just to throw that out if that one appeals or gets near. Bethany, did you have any that appealed or interested you?
None of them have super jumped out at me as like, oh, we have to do that one. I'm kind of fond of the locked in the shed ones, just because it's like, okay, there is a situation right now, right here.
Did someone highlight 4-3?
4-3, yeah, I did.
Okay.
It's another locked in the shed one, but it's a land agent has.
I could be into that one.
That one. That would be a threat to the community. So like,
Yeah, absolutely.
You could get involved in that one. That makes sense.
Shit, right now, it's so funny. Sorry.
The old friend has come into the system, and turns out they've taken the Empire's commission as interesting. I don't know that it's would be linked to my character at all, but it's interesting.
They're not locking anyone's shed though. What are you gonna do?
I mean, I feel like we have to lean towards the shed one at this point, right? Like, there's been so much talk about it.
It's a lot of build up.
Sorry, I suppose a space shed it should be, but you know, it's. But yeah, no, I'm down with that. The land agent one, that sounds fun.
Okay, so Keith, are you good with 4-3 situation?
Absolutely.
Okay. A land agent has discovered valuable veins of alludium and chrysophyte, on this planet. They intend to buy extraction rights from the people here and sell them off to Imperial industry. Yes, it is totally unobtainium. Yes.
Yeah.
They'll make the people here effectively trespassers in their own homes. They're locked in my shed right now. So is it Vesh's shed then?
Oh, it's Vesh's derelict spaceship.
Oh, great. That's good.
Which might just be called the shed.
I think that has to be official now. Let's say let's give them a name, right? Just so we can. We're going to call her Pol Aniset. Pol Aniset is currently in the shed, which is the current working name for your derelict ship. And I've got a picture of Pol on the NPCs tab. She is possibly human, maybe Ratataki. She has kind of ashen coloring to her skin, so she would be a near human, and some kind of facial markings. Wears this almost tri-corner style hat. And yeah, how, Vesh, how did you find out that Pol Aniset was going to sell off this stuff? Did she kind of try to bring you in on this, or did you overhear her talking to someone else and that's how you?
I think that let me actually look at that scenario again real quick.
You bet.
Extraction rights from the people here and sell them off to the Imperial industry. Okay. Yeah, she approached me because like I'm kind of new here. I'm kind of an outsider. I've like claimed this small area, but I don't really have like any close ties to anybody around here. So I seemed like an obvious in for her.
Okay.
And then like I mentioned it to somebody local who was like explained like the background situation and came back, agreed to meet with her, and yeah, she's currently locked in the shed. This
Awesome.
just happened. Like I have no idea what to do now.
This is delightful. So you have locked her in your ship, Vesh. I think she wants out, but she can't easily get out right now. So who would you go to? What do you do first?
I mean, I'm frantically calling Kit because Kit is old. Kit has lots of life experience, and like specifically with off-world stuff, and is good with people. And this seems like a really good combination of traits.
Just right up your alley, Kit. When you receive contact on the comms from someone, where would we find you? Like when the camera pops over to wherever Kit is when he receives this call.
Yeah, I think we see Kit. I think we kind of get one of those like quite tight in shots with of Kit. Sort of looking on his face, looking intently. We see him looking down at the cards in front of him. We see him kind of select one, put it down on the table, and as the comm goes off, he answers it, and we pan back, and we see he's playing like sabacc with a couple of like kids, sort of at the local diner, whilst having a coffee.
I like that. And TX, why are you in the diner? And what are you doing?
I have managed to coax a few vegetables out of the plot of land behind my workshop. And of course, not growing them for myself. It's an offering to the community. So I'm there to drop them off at the diner.
I'm going to say this place is called Rudders because the guy who started it is named Rudders. There's a picture of Rudders. He's about Kit's age. He did not age as well as Kit. So yeah, Kit, you get a call on your comm unit.
Yes, this is Kit. How can I help?
I might have just screwed up really bad, but hear me out. So, have you met Paul Anisette?
The name doesn't ring a bell, but no, do carry on, Vesh. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I've got her locked on the shed. She's trying to buy up the mineral rights here in order to sell this entire town, region, whatever, to the Empire.
And you have her locked on your ship, you say?
Yeah, that might have been a little hasty of me, but it seemed like it was going to be a problem. So
in the background, we hear boom, 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 boom.
It's certainly a bold opening strategy, indeed. Very well. I'll head right over. I'll see you shortly.
good. Thank you.
And Kit, during this conversation, one of the kids was trying to like palm one of your cards. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think I think we, as sort of Kit's hanging up his other hand, just like snakes out, strikes out, and he doesn't like grab hard, just like puts enough pressure on the back of the hand to make them know they've been caught, and he says, almost, little one. If you're going to cheat again, make sure to do it better than that. Understood?
And the kid looks sheepish, and one of the other kids like shoves him. He's so stupid. Nice. TX, I think Rudders is looking over the vegetables that you brought on offer, and when the camera like pans down onto the counter, how do these space radishes look?
I mean, by our standards, that they wouldn't look good, but I feel like the fact that they exist is pretty impressive. I think it's really more of a referendum on like, how does Rudders feel about this droid that is growing vegetables to give to him? Like, is that what's the deal, or thanks for trying to help?
Rudders, I think this is an interesting uncertainty to me, a simple uncertainty. So let's hit some dice. Very excited. All right. Does everyone good with that? We need to make sure that the matter at question is in fact simply uncertain. We don't need to go to a full conflict. Is everybody okay with that?
I love the idea of punching him, so I'll accept the vegetables.
I escalate.
I've escalated too far. Take my veggies.
Okay, cool. So resolve something uncertain. We agree. And then is this a test of luck or one of your qualities? I think.
I remember what qualities are.
The qualities are your like patience, perspective, will, and skill.
I don't know. If one of those was like a charisma-ish thing, I could see it being a test of quality. But I don't know that one of those fits. So it might just be if I'm lucky that I'm dealing with the right person.
Okay. Then so is it a test of luck or one of your qualities? Doesn't feel like a quality, so then you're going to roll 1d10. I'm going to roll by default 2d6. I'm good with the default. I'm going to roll 2 pip dice. Boop, bloop. These dice don't count. I'm just bringing them onto the table.
1d10 plus 2.
1d10 plus 2 is what you're rolling. Okay. Yes. If I mumbled, I apologize.
I'll just, whoa. Try to drag it out. All right, there it is.
Okay, go ahead and roll it. You need to beat a 7. Good luck.
Nope.
6. So Rudders, it's real close. He looks at it, and I'm not sure if TX can pick up the like real suspicious look, and he says, just give. You don't want any credits or barter for this. You're just handing this over?
What I get from this exchange is the pleasure of growing them. I do not need to eat them, as I am sure you understand.
Okay. Well, thank you. TX, I'll see what I can do with them. And he takes them, but you have a feeling you're never going to see those things again. So
I'm just kind of like, yeah, thank you. Slides it near the trash.
Yeah, exactly. Near the trash. As soon as he looks away, goes to trash. Kit. There's a droid available for helping. Very helpful droid.
And I think, Kit is going to walk up to TX and say, TX21, and how are you doing today?
Quite well, thank you. I've just made a delivery of fresh produce to Rudders. Very pleased with this crop. And I think I might not be making eye contact with Kit at that point, or whatever I have that visual sensor kind of, might still be looking at rudders as I say, very proud of this crop. Just kind of like, eh?
So sad.
Well, I am glad to hear that. I've just got a call from Vesh. It seems they've run into a little trouble. And while I don't think it's anything they can't handle, having you along would certainly not go amiss, I think.
It would make my morning to be of assistance to you two.
Lovely to hear it. Lovely to hear it. We'll make a we'll get moving, and I'll tell you more about the situation on the way.
Background question: would it be something that TX or for David? Would it be something that TX knows that, like, how hidden is Kit's Jedi past? Is it something that I would be vaguely aware of, not at all aware of?
Probably not at all aware of at this point. I don't think that we as a vague group have yet been in a situation dire enough that he's had to really break out any of the weird stuff, sort of thing. So
just as a smooth talking nice guy who is popular in the community.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
Some less, some more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sweet. So we like cut to the TX. Do you drive this heavily modded land speeder, or do you let Kit drive?
It's probably, I mean, if we're, I don't know if Kit, what kind of vehicle you have. I'm not a light being.
Yeah, I don't have a specific vehicle that I'm. So yeah, no, that's
and
cool.
Mine would be there because I would have just flown in with the produce. Please allow me to escort you.
Thank you very much. Most appreciated.
Cool.
Safety belt on, please.
Do you guys want to RP out sharing the information, or do we just assume that TX has been informed of what Keith the player knows? I'm good either way. I just wanted to ask in case.
I'm happy for us to skip ahead to the to meeting with Vesh unless you wanted to go over that particularly.
Unless there's some reason that Kit would withhold something or elide any details. Yeah, that's fine.
No.
So, Vesh, from the outside of the shed, as we're calling your derelict ship, like, does this thing look like it shouldn't even be able to fly, or does it just have one particular really important piece missing?
It has like large gaping holes in the hull. Like there's just no way it could leave the atmosphere or even like get up high in the atmosphere. Just there's nothing to contain pressure. Other than that, like there's not a lot of plant life. So there's no like overgrowth, no vines growing over it or anything. But I think it's like has dust sort of piled up around the landing struts. And it's just got like, it's clearly not been moved much lately. And like there's corrosion, like parts that should move probably don't. Like there is a gun turret, but it is so like corroded over that it's pretty clear that like it would not turn if you wanted it to turn.
Oh man, that's awesome. And Vesh, are you like outside when the land speeder pulls in?
Yeah. I'm just sort of standing there waiting because I heard it coming, I think.
All right.
Looking sort of fidgeting because I'm realizing that this was probably a terrible mistake.
So, Kit, you arrive on the scene. You don't see any sign, but you wouldn't assume you would, of Pol Aniset. So, TX, Pol Aniset asked you to do something a couple days ago when she was out, prospecting. What service did you provide for her?
I think there was trying to picture our geology. There would be caves and stuff. I mean, if there's minerals, there's got to be some sort of rock formations. I feel like there was a cave in, and she needed to access somewhere, and so my brute strength was useful to her.
And what did she do that bothered you? Was she just dismissive of you as a person, or did she not pay you well? What was it that she did that may have irked you a bit?
I mean, I think you hit it right away. It was, you're basically a forklift. Come here and move these things. And I don't think it was like hostile.
No.
Like
why
that
would
was
she
the
be hostile with you?
subtext, not the text. It was just I need some things moved. Come on.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, happy to help. And it was kind of like I couldn't help but notice you arriving, because someone like that shows up here in Findar. You're going to notice them. There's not that many shuttle flights anyway.
Not that many. Yeah, she flew in here, but was like, it wasn't her ship, so it was one of those like, whoop, and they're supposed to come back soon. So, Kit, you and TX arrive, and Vesh, you wait for them. There they are. What do you do?
So right now she's locked in the ship. I'm not sure what my next step should be. I thought you might have some ideas on that.
Quite. Well, let's start off at the beginning, I suppose. How was it that you came to lock her up in your ship? What was the precise chain of events that led us to where we are now?
Well, she approached me looking to buy this patch of land, which technically isn't even mine, so I couldn't sell it to her anyway, and then asking me for help. Not really specified what help, whether it was convincing other people to sell or, physical help finding these minerals or hauling things, I don't know. And then I spoke to someone in town to get a little background on her and what she was looking for and what she was asking for, and put two and two together. She's not Imperial, but she's planning on selling mineral rights to the Imperials, or buying the mineral rights and selling the minerals to the Imperials. And if that happens, you and I know this whole place is not going to be here long.
It would not be a thing to be desired. Agreed.
Well, it's going to be difficult to persuade her not to pursue her course of action. I would imagine that there is a considerable amount of money involved in this deal, and that usually can make people most intractable. But I suppose we can at least try and open discussions with her and see if we can dissuade her.
None would be better at that than Kit Shade Star.
Exactly what TX said.
Well, I shall try and turn on the old charm, I suppose. But as I say, I'm not certain if words alone will convince her to put this plan out of her head. But we can at least try and then see what must be done next.
I shall sit behind you and look menacing.
Thank you, TX. That will, I am sure, be most persuasive as well.
Yes, I go and find my gaffy stick, which has lately been used as mostly, a shovel / crowbar, but
clean the dirt off of it. Shot it up.
Yeah, knock the dirt off. And
which end do I hold?
Yeah. No, I mean, I know how to use it. I just also use it as a tool.
Nice. Sweet. So I'm imagining, Vesh, that you were you thinking like maybe you had Paul, you just shoved her in a room that you could easily secure the door type deal?
No, I think she's just on the, I think I like asked her to come aboard so that we could talk, and then said, oh, excuse me, I have to go do something, and left and locked the door behind me.
Okay.
It took her a while probably to even realize that what was happening, but she's probably figured it out by now.
So lower the door, Kit walks up, Vesh and TX behind, and Pole is in, the lounge type area. It's just a common area. It's central. When you first walk up, you catch sight of her, like she's got a panel open and she's fiddling with some of the wires in the circuitry. But then she sees you and she like grabs it, slaps it on real quick, and slightly turns away, and then put like steeples her hands and place them just underneath her breast as she sits on a chair that was once had a nice leather upholstery, but it's like cracked in a bunch of places. You can see the foam underneath, and it's been ripped and torn, and there's someone wrote their name in Abish in there, and everything is kind of uneven and lumpy, and she tries to seem regal as you approach. Kit, have you met Pole Anaset? She's been here, let's say, like a week.
In which case, yeah, I've probably met her, at least in passing.
Mr. Shadestar, I'm so glad that you've arrived. I don't know why I've been kidnapped or what exactly is going on, but hopefully we can come to an amicable solution together.
That was rather my hope. Yes, and he'll take a seat as well and say, I've just been speaking with Vesh here. They say that you have been you are interested in acquiring mineral rights to this region.
She flicks a glance over at you, Vesh. Like there's a bit of hurt. There's a little bit of feeling of betrayal in her look.
Just like managed to keep it at like as stony a face as possible. I'm just like standing there with this gaffy stick like planted on the ground.
You understand, this is a planet under the auspices of Warlord Singe.
Of course, and I am. I'm aware of the situation, and I am aware of the value of this place to yourself, and by extension to those who would seek to buy any minerals and such off of you, having been extracted here. My concern in this, I suppose, this, as I'm sure you have experienced so far, this is not a sophisticated settlement here, and the people who live here have little representation in a formal fashion. While I'm merely passing through myself, and I have no particular stake on this land, I would hate to think of the citizens here being exploited in any sort of deal. Not, I am sure, that an upstanding businesswoman such as yourself would stoop to such measures, of course.
Mr. Shadestar, I believe I see where your concern is coming from. And granted, I have only been, well, we can't exactly call this place by a proper name since it's an unincorporated spaceport, but here, I have only been here for a week. And I'm sure that, as you say, Mr. Shadestar, you're only passing through. But you may have more of a understanding of the people here. But what I see are people who don't understand the opportunity that is literally underneath their feet. The vein of illudium that I have found with the assistance of your fine droid here is impressive. And the opportunity that it would bring the people of this spaceport is considerable. Now, both you and I know that in order to obtain the kind of funds and contracts to utilize this is really beyond the people here. They didn't, if they had that wherewithal, they would have already begun utilizing this. So while obviously, Vesh, you see this as a danger, I don't think you see the opportunity that I can help bring to this place. So I have to tell you, I am concerned being kidnapped and the fact that you all are carrying weapons.
This
But
is deactivated. Shoot, I shouldn't have said that.
Sorry, she doesn't laugh. She's like, not sure how to take that. But she says, but I am a businesswoman. And I certainly hope that none of you are looking to harm me because I saw a business opportunity and talked to you about it.
I think we should roll some dice.
Yeah, I think we are near that. I was like, are we in that conflict? So yeah, the stakes are Pole wants the three of you to just let her go. That's what she wants. It's a givable thing. Just let me walk out of here. I'll do everything else on my own. Obviously, you aren't going to help me, but you know. What is the stakes for you? And Kit, are you still leading this? It feels like you are, but I'll make sure you are comfortable.
Yeah, that probably makes sense if people are cool with that.
Yeah.
And I think that what Kit wants to do here is, again, I like just from a thing. I don't think that this conversation is going to convince her to back off and leave for good. But I think what I want to do is try and convince her that we're sort of essentially that we're serious enough that we can make enough trouble that she can't just kind of ignore us. Basically, put ourselves on her radar, I guess, is sort of the. Yeah.
So it seems like she just wants to go and do her thing and be let loose. And we're kind of like, no, you have to include us in this in some fashion. You can't just do it on your own or we'll...
Okay, cool. I understand that.
Yeah.
That stakes is interesting. Nice. Cool. I'm just trying to do everything above board in case I screwed up and Keith, or one of you guys can say, well, I think it's like that. I am using the land agent or trade agent from the ne'er-do-wells which is on page 17 of the PDF. So I'll be using those base stats. So our opening conflict salvo here is, to me, very much just talking. So
I'd agree.
let's get some dice out there. Patience and perspective, you're going to be rolling 7d6. I have chosen, if you see on the roller, I've got kind of a purpley blue. So that's the color I'll be using. If you could use a different color, David, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah. I've gone for sort of turquoise, but I'll change that to an orangey color, so it's a bit more distinct.
Okay.
So we're not looking at different shades of blue. So yeah, I'm going to grab. Oh wait. So yes.
I am just getting dice out here. They don't count as rolled yet. And I'm going to screen share if you guys don't mind. I think that's helpful, especially in our first conflict here. All right. I'm going to try to blow that up a little bit. So best just for looking at things to kind of line them up. And I think she's the one who's saying, let me go. So, and if you're okay with it, I'll lead off. Oh my goodness, your dice are way better than mine.
Can always escalate.
She may have to. So I'm going to go with the first raise, which is the two highest dice she has, a 6 and a 4. Now, David, you need to at least meet the 10 for things to continue. You can easily do it with 2 dice. You could also try to save those dice for your next, like when you raise, and meet it with several dice, but then you will take fallout. This is just talking. Fallout from just talking is low stakes and sometimes okay. But it will be rolled at the end of the conflict, so we don't know for sure what fallout you'll have until the end.
So, Rich, when you move those dice forward, you have to say what you're doing.
That's
to
true.
Move towards winning your stakes, and
Thank
that
you.
Kit cannot ignore.
She says, I am willing to offer 10%. That's 5 for you, Vesh, and 5 for you, Mr. Shadestar, of what she's not going to include the droid.
No, it's perfect, but
your property. So in her mind, so 5% for each of you. And all you have to do is let me walk out of this shed. So yeah, your reaction, David, is like you need to make a mechanical reaction and then a like role-playing reaction, because that's her offer. Her offer is something you can't ignore. She's saying, I'll throw 10% of this take your way, 5 to you, 5 to you, if you let me get out of here. So yeah, your 2 options are you can just meet it with 2 dice, which means you won't have any fallout, and you've got plenty of dice to do for the next raise, which will drain me out of dice, but she's going to probably have to escalate the conflict in some way to keep from giving up.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that is I'm going to meet that with pair of 5s to meet on that. And I think we kind of see that like almost just a little twitch at the corner of Kit's eye as he says, well, I will say this for you. Sorry, I've blanked on her surname.
Anisette.
Ms. Anisette. That is a generous offer you have made. I would be tempted. I cannot deny it. However, I feel, as I say, I have no ownership over the land here. That belongs to the residents of this place. And it is with them that you will need to take this up. I will happily engage in these discussions, but as an impartial mediator, not on your behalf.
I would say that might actually be really good for your raise. Like you
Mhm.
kind of blocked what you
Oh,
said by saying
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, I can't make that choice, but then push your dice forward and say, but I can facilitate the conversation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you
Cool.
wouldn't want to ignore
So-
that.
Those didn't result in fallout, so I've deleted those dice here. You now make a raise, which could totally be, but I can facilitate a thing where you talk to the town.
Yeah.
You would push forward 2 dice.
Sure. So I was trying to move them on the chat screen, which was not helpful.
Yeah, I've done that a billion times. Sorry.
So I'm going to put forward 4.
Oh, just 4?
Mm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. She's
Kit's playing 3D chess with her.
this is next level. Phew. Hold on. What's the thing on C? Can she can she escalate on a C?
Yes.
No. Yes, I can escalate.
You
on a C.
can. Oh, hold on.
I
Hold on,
think
there's
that's the
something.
thing that they've changed. I think now you can only escalate on a
raise.
raise. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing we actually talked about before the game, and
She could
Slipped my
bring
mind again.
in dice, but not through escalation. She could bring in, I forget all the other names for the dice, but traits.
yeah, like she
Okay.
as a land agent or
Weapons.
trade agent, she doesn't like she's not gonna whip out weapons because that's gonna, I mean, that's escalating the situation. So I think she's just gonna see this and then she'll when she raises. So she's gonna take some fallout. And she says that won't work. There are, from what I can see, at least 40 to 50 people here. There is an opportunity here, but once you slice it so many times, that opportunity is for the they will no, I don't think that will work. And now she's going to like move to self and deceit to get more dice as she gets a D10, which again, I'm not rolling. I just bring them into the conflict, and 4d6, which is a little weird because I know there's some overlap there, but I'm just using what it's got me. So, all right, now I'm going to roll all these dice. That did reroll. Okay, there we go. All right, cool.
And I'll just mention for Bethany, we can join in if we feel the need to.
Yep, you certainly can. So she is going to very excitedly push forward, stealth and deceit. She says, what if you allow me to leave here and you, Mr. Shadestar and Vesh, you can form up a smaller committee who will represent this spaceport in a future negotiation. I will make sure that the contracts can be secured. Why even pursue this if that's not even a possibility? And then I will come back here and we will negotiate the best way to settle out this contract. And she's pushing forward an 11. And what she's bargaining for is like, just let me go and I'll totally negotiate with you in good faith on Wednesday. A Wednesday.
Yeah, sure thing. So I would like to. I can, if I'm right in saying this, I can bring in one of my trait dice or so on and so forth as part of making the C. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
cool.
You could, I mean, your harmony, your belongings, your traits, pretty much anything except the qualities you can bring in with us.
Cool. So I'm going to, and I think again we just see kind of that sort of close, sort of. It's clear that Kit is paying close attention to like Paul's eyes and like the tone of her voice and so on and so forth
Nice.
as she's speaking. And I'm going to bring in my D8 for being quick and cunning, which I will now roll. Cool.
Oh,
Nice.
good.
So yeah. And I think I think the kind of just the C on that is that moment of him doing the kind of just sort of staring, no, not staring her down, but that kind of going into sort of the poker face mode as he's sabak face, I suppose I should say, as he's eyeing her up, and I will see that 11.
Okay. So you block it. No fallout for either of you. And we'll just go ahead there. And now you. Come on. Did I not click that one right? Okay. Now you've just got 6 here, but you're about to make a raise. You can escalate, which means kind of change the scope of the conflict. She's already escalated to stealth and deceit and brought in those dice. You also could do so if you're going to be stealthy and deceitful with her. You can pull out a weapon and make this more of a threatening type thing. You can lean on your reputation to bring in dice, harmony, any belongings or traits.
Yeah, I think I am going to escalate to using deceit here as well, as as I said before.
Okay, so you've got 3 in will. You've already
Yep.
rolled your patience, so go ahead and roll 3 more d6. And are there any belongings that you want to bring in here, or traits that you want to add in? Smooth talker could be perfectly
Yeah,
acceptable,
I think I will also bring in smooth talker at this point. So I will roll those and add them to the.
And if you feel like being a Jedi would give you an edge here, you could bring that trait in as well.
I think I'll leave that for the moment. I
Okay.
think I'll go with what I've got here and then see how that pans out.
Oh,
Not great so far, but
not awesome.
no. But then I'm not staring down the barrel of much at the minute either. So, and I think there's Kit just sort of leans back a little in his seat and says, "Well, Ms. Anisette, I think that forming a committee to discuss this with the locals is, of course, a sensible step for us to take. I think that, as I say, I think that is a sensible course of action. Regardless, I would, however, say that I think it is best that you refrain from taking any further actions with regards to the specifics of the land until we're able to convene the locals. We wouldn't want any misunderstandings or the like to cause problems for with this. I'm sure you understand.
All right. And what do you raise with?
Yeah, so I think I am this time going to go with a 9.
Okay.
Just for my own clarity, which part is not true?
Good point.
Yeah, so I think that fundamentally Kit doesn't actually believe that getting together a committee of the locals will really be much use in the face of, an imperial backed business person. This is on his part. He does want to get their opinions and have a chance to speak with them, but this is purely a delaying tactic on his
Stalling.
Yeah.
Cool. So, knowing that she only has an 8, right? Like thinking a little bit on the meta, to avoid further fallout, she is going to give on this conflict. That means that she ends up with these 3 dice over here that I almost gestured off screen, but that wouldn't help at all. These 3 dice, she's going to need to roll Fallout 4, and we'll do that after the conflict is resolved. So she gives, which means she avoids having to roll the fallout from pushing forward 4 more dice. And she puts up her hands and says, very well, very well. If you wish for me to stay upon the spaceport while you gather this committee so that we can negotiate, I will remain here, but not specifically here. Sorry, Vesh. This place smells a little. Until we can work out an amicable arrangement.
Perfect. That sounds eminently satisfactory, Ms. Anisette. And please do not let us detain you any further.
All right. So let me quickly show you guys how Fallout would work. I'm pulling out. So the Fallout, the way it works is, I've got this here. So why don't I just switch over to that tab? So in the rules, at the end, after we're done with all that stuff, then we go to Fallout. The Fallout, actually the cheat sheet's quicker. Fallout dice, these were just words. We never got physical, and there was no violence or danger. So she is going to be rolling D4s. She rolls all 3 of these dice that she took as Fallout. So she's rolling 3D4, and there are a couple things we're looking for. So I'm going to use Control to select all 3 of them and roll those selected dice. And so if you were a PC and one of these was a 1, that would be experience. But instead, we take the 2 highest dice, a 6, and we look here. So any 1's experience Fallout. 2 to 7 is short-term Fallout. So the short-term Fallout, we're not going to do a Fallout conflict. Opponent gets your 2 best Fallout dice. No follow-up conflict, leave the scene. So we'll say there's no follow-up. No follow-up, so she has to leave this scene and spend time alone, which you guys probably don't want to let her do, but she won't be interacting with you. So that's the short-term fallout that she suffers. Now, long-term can affect your qualities, create new traits. There's a bunch of different interesting little dice things. If there was injury or death involved, there's some injury or possibly dying. And then there's reflection and experience fallout that happen if you are lucky. The experience fallout are really great. You definitely want those. So Pull and a set agrees. Okay, fine. I have this great discovery. Get your community together. Pick a committee. We will have a conversation, and then Mr. Shadestar or Kit Shadestar, you agree to let her go. She is going to walk back to the spaceport, I assume. Maybe she had a small speeder here. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it feels weird to offer her a ride at that point, but
well, how did she get out here? Did you give her a ride, Vesh, or did she ride out here to talk to you? What do you think?
I think she rode out here. So yeah, there's a small speeder outside.
Cool. So she gets in a small speeder. It's rented. It's not in any shakes, and she will head back to. I think. Do you guys like ride after her to make sure she doesn't just go off? Or do you
Just as an
trust it?
aside, Vesh, the next time you kidnap someone, you have to be sure to hide their vehicle as well. It's a dead giveaway. You
Good
just got to
point.
put a hand on their shoulder.
I will keep that in mind. Next time I kidnap
Also,
someone.
don't do it next time.
No, I know this was a lot more trouble than.
Although it seems that Master Shadestar has done well with his words and given us some time to get in front of this thing.
Yes, that is exactly what I called you for. Thank you.
That's quite all right. This is going to be tricky to actually overcome, but I'm sure we can work out something that can stop
Can't even
this.
finish the sentence.
Yeah,
We just need to dismantle capitalism and we'll be fine.
exactly.
Yeah. I think, Kit, maybe you've been here long enough and you're clever enough. Vesh, you've definitely been here long enough. And TX, I'm not sure how well you know people. You're going to have to be real careful building a committee that would say no to this.
Yeah.
She's got an upper hand. There are a few old timers here who would understand if that contract happens, if anyone finds out about this, whether she gets the contract or not, and someone says, oh, there's this here, this spaceport life will never be the same. And chances are, because Illudium is a excellent fuel source, that the Empire's going to be coming knocking.
Right. Yeah. So we definitely have to get the old timers on as part of this committee. But yeah, I mean, even if they say no to this contract,
It is very difficult to say no to the Empire.
I look a little guilty at that.
Ultimately, we might need to look at how the locals can I do not wish to say simply move, but some other something else that they might be able to find. As you say, I think it is highly likely that if information about this gets out, someone will come eventually who has either the backing or the ruthlessness to proceed with this.
There was always someone more willing to do the unthinkable than the person that you're encountering at the time. So perhaps it behooves us to best prepare for that eventuality and know that even if we deal with Pol Anisette, there will be others.
or we keep the information from getting out.
Turn towards Vesh at that point. An admirable goal. Is it also feasible?
I have no idea.
There's only one way I can think of to stop someone as cred hungry as Pol Anisette from sharing that information with anyone she thinks she can profit from it. And that part of my anatomy has been disabled for a good many years. Hold up the cannon arm.
Two ways. The other way is to somehow allow her to make more profit by keeping it secret. But I have no idea how we would do that. It would be easier to just kill her.
An intriguing possibility, Veshalion. The first thing you said. And I think looking at Kit like that, like you're the smart one. Do you have anything for that? Also knowing that what could be more valuable than this? I've flown in many starships powered by this, and
Of course. There is another approach, though. This whether we can pulling it this way round would be an interesting thing. Are you aware of the concept of salting a mine? It's where you seed a mine with certain minerals to make it seem a more valuable prospect than it actually is. If we can convince her that she has been scammed by us, hopefully after we've managed to extract some money from her,
Kit Shadestar, you continue to impress me. This level of subterfuge could be effective.
Make her believe that we've been trying to convince her that we have more of it than we do. I think she'd be willing to believe that. She has no reason to trust us. So all we have to do is make her distrust us more.
Rich, you're on mute.
Sorry, go ahead. David, you were going to say something.
Oh, no, it's okay. No,
my question was, is that what we in session on? Is that right there?
It sounds good to me, yeah.
It's a delightful plan.
It is. Cool.
We just have to convince her that we're lying to her. No problem.
Wild. Good. So then that brings the session to an end. There's no end of session stuff to do. But it carves us a little bit of time to talk about post-game feedback, a little bit of stars and wishes. Any of those wishes are things you definitely want to get to. Also, were there points of confusion that I should brush up on the rules to better explain next time around? Who would like to go first for wishes?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to kick off on that. So yeah, in terms of wishes for next time, I'm honestly, I'm at that point in the game where I'm just interested to really see how it all like flows out and fits together. I think we've had that first like taste of the conflict rules, so I'm looking forward to seeing more of that and getting to grips with it. Really, I think is probably what I'm looking forward to the most. And yeah, just seeing a range of different conflicts and different bits and pieces on that front. But yeah, I think that's kind of I'm interested in digging into that, like how we kind of play with the system.
Cool. I think in a similar vein, I know with the system like this, the first session does tend to drag a little bit with getting up to speed on it. I'm looking forward to kind of jumping around more, having more scenes, seeing more of the world, and just kind of making it a little bit snappier so we're all over the place and more expansive, I think. More expansive worldview kind of thing.
Yeah. I wanted to I agree 100%, but I definitely in session 1 wanted to do a simple uncertainty and a conflict, and we at least got through one of those each. So I definitely want us to get more comfy to where we can do more. Bethany, what about you? Did you have any wishes?
No, I think they covered it pretty well. I wish I had seen the entire conflict round. Someone was pounding on my door wanting the key to the other house.
Oh. Well, it'll be recorded, so
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like go back and watch just at least that much of it. I was there for the rest of it, but to see how the beginning of that works. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing like how the mechanics and how the system and the story work together, because I'm also a little shaky on that.
no worries. We will get through it. Cool. Good. So let's do a little bit of stars. Were there particular moments that you enjoyed, or highlights, or a character or a bit of player action that you enjoyed? Bethany, you went last on wishes. You get to go first on stars.
Oh, pretty much every one of Keith's lines. I really like this character. Especially the whole vegetable thing was, it's like, oh, I'm so proud of these radishes. They exist. This is amazing.
Well, that's pretty great. Awesome. Thank you, Bethany. David, Keith went middle. So you're up next.
I love these characters' backgrounds, and I think it's a tricky thing to the way the game has you set it up. Like you're coming up with this part and that part, and it's going over here, and then you all have to end up here. And I think we threaded that needle really well, and it's just going to be so interesting to see them bounce off of each other. And I love this insane plan, and I'm so glad David came up with it, because one of the things I've noticed with this this system that didn't have a problem in dogs, because you're playing young stupid pokes or just poking around, like we're supposed to be smarter and know what to do to some extent. And I always feel like as a person, I don't really know, like all the situations I've come up with in this run and the last run, I'm like, oh, I don't know what we would do. And there's no like peer into the void to roll and have it tell me, like we just have to do things. So I was very happy that came up, and I love that it's like a heist kind of thing. Like I'm so excited to see where it goes wrong. Let's be honest, it's probably going to crush it. It's going to be a beautiful disaster.
Such a beautiful disaster. Cool. Thank you, Keith. And David.
Yeah, I really again just to echo, I thought like I really like all the characters. My stand sort of session one star, but no, like some really interesting characters. I'm really interested to see how they all bounce off one another once we get into more of that. In terms of like very like specific moments, I just it's that I loved just that initial phone call from Vesh. It was just that perfect, like Fargo style. I've just done this thing. Sort of cold open. It was really great, and I really liked particularly that one moment with where TX was like my blaster arm has been disabled, sort of thing. So yeah.
I shouldn't have said that. That's so good. Yeah. I really enjoyed your characters. You guys done a great job of stepping in and making these folks that are compelling. I could totally watch a TV show with these three characters as the primaries. I can't wait to explore more, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you all for giving this a shot, and we'll go ahead and end a little bit early. Crazy.